Decisions, experiences, and comforting thoughts. These are the architects and rewards of a challenging career. Since experiences that include challenges are usually more interesting, I would like to describe a few of mine to you today and explain a very special challenge that I call Catch 44. And then I would like to leave you with some comforting thoughts.
A 5-year-old boy sits in his doctor's waiting room. A corner of the room serves as an open office for the town's switchboard operator. The boy watches every move the operator makes until a nurse calls his name and his mother leads him to the doctor's office. It is late October. A 10-year-old boy and his parents stare nervously into the night sky. They are looking at a polished beach ball-sized metal sphere called Sputnik. Sputnik is streaking 400 miles overhead at a speed of 18,000 miles per hour. The world's first man-made object in space was launched by the Soviet Union on October the 4th, 1957. 4 days later, Soviet Russia detonated a 20-megaton hydrogen bomb. In the weeks since, Russian officials have been claiming they can deliver the bomb anywhere in the world, and they might decide to use it on the United States. U.S. national leaders declare the U.S. has no defense against this threat. The U.S. is now a second-rate world power. The space race will continue for the next 12 years. Cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin will be the first man in space, but the U.S. will eventually prevail when astronaut Neil Armstrong takes the giant leap for mankind. But for several years following October the 4th, 1957, many U.S. citizens and allies will live in the shadow of a serious Soviet threat.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time to see me today.
Please, call me out. We're happy to have you here, Dennis. So you're seeking a job as a programmer after teaching high school math and physics for a year. Why the switch to programming?
Well, I loved teaching physics in grad school. High school teaching was an experiment that just hadn't worked out. But I took a Fortran programming class in college, and I thought, now would be the time to try programming.
Well, most of the work we do here is in electronic warfare, EW for short. Would you have any trouble doing this kind of work?
No, sir. The Russians gave me nightmares when I was a kid, and I'd love to pay that back somehow.
Yeah, a lot of us feel that way. I see you also played a year of college basketball.
Yeah, well, the plan was to actually become a basketball coach someday. And my freshman year, I was a walk-on, but I lucked into a season that was fantastic beyond anything I'd ever imagined.
Did you know we have a company basketball team?
No, sir, I didn't, no.
Yeah, I'm the coach. Want to play for us?
I'd love to.
Good. We'll hire you as a walk-on programmer and see how you're doing 6 months from now. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Want to take a look around?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. This is our Varian 620L engineering mini computer. Our programs are written in Fortran, or assembly language. Now let's go downstairs and take a look at our IBM 360 business system.
Crap. Another lockup. I guess it's in that second do loop.
Hey, you jerk, what are you doing?
My program is important. I have a deadline tomorrow.
We all have deadlines tomorrow. All our programs are important. You can't just step in here and take over.
Crap. Reiterate my deck again. Now I gotta go repunch and reorder my cards.
Sounds like someone just broke in line again.
This stuff you cockroaches designed is junk. It's not doing anything it's supposed to be doing.
We were saying the same thing about your garbage.
We've been doing this for far too long, and I'm far too tired of dealing with
I
this
understand,
junk.
but it's not...
I understand your EW work is going well. Can you tell me about it?
Sure. Dave has hundreds of punched cards that contain known radar operating parameters. He had me run a program that compares the parameters from each one to all the others. He believes that measuring 3 basic parameters from each would be good enough to identify all radar types uniquely.
Was it?
There were too many ambiguities. He thinks we'll still be working on this for another 50 years.
Would you be interested in tackling a telecom problem?
I love the EW work, but a lot of these guys are really old. I mean, some of them are in their 40s. No offense intended.
None taken.
You know, I would love to work with a younger group. What is telecom all about?
Well, a failing division in our company dropped an air traffic control voice switch in our labs. It's a first-of-a-kind system that allows air traffic controllers to manage intercom, telephone, and radio comms. That is, if we can get it to work. Do you have any experience in telephones or radios?
No, but my family's doctor office was connected to a telephone operator, and I would watch her and try to figure out what she was doing. I think a similar version might work for your telecom system.
Sounds worth a try. By the way, many of the guys on the job are your age.
Oh.
Want to start tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Mr. Watson, come here. I need you.
Learn to do without, Mr. Bell.
I heard both sides of the conversation.
Hey guys, we got all our calls working? Just in time. We got our call testing working just fine. I was wondering if we can get the power supply to go.
You do remember I'm a digital designer, right? I've never designed a power system before. Are you sure we want to do this?
How hard could it be?
I sure wish we had the help of a real power supply guy.
They're all tied up on EW jobs somewhere. You'll do fine. Are you ready?
Okay. I suggest you all stand back. Here goes nothing.
Okay. I'll call one of the EW power supply guys.
The Terminal Communications Switching System, TCSS, was delivered to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport in January of 1975. Its developers spent most of the year in on-site test and verification. TCSS was operational from 1976 until 1985, when it was replaced by a second-generation version of the same system.
You're a telecom guy. Can you handle EW work?
We fielded 2 generations of air traffic control systems over the past 14 years. And part of that time, we had our guys working on EW jobs. It's just a matter of problem solving in either case.
Well, we're in a bind. One of our marketing guys made an aggressive claim in order to get government funding for this project we have, codenamed Heather. He said he had analytical proof that we could provide passive air-to-air location. But nobody's ever done this, and our guy doesn't have proof. Now, if our analysts can't pull this off, we're in trouble with the government.
Where do you need help?
We need specs for our software team in time to have them code the algorithm for our flight tests.
John told me yesterday that they want to be able to change their algorithm on the test up until the last minute. They want to use their own code instead of having the software guys rewrite it.
Won't this be risky?
It'll just be much safer and easier if our guys do it. The analysts have to write code for their own tests anyway.
How do we lab test it?
We'll simulate everything. Once we have that working, each team can use parts of the simulation to lab test their code independently.
I'll run this idea past the rest of the Heather team. If they agree, you're on.
Okay, great. Hey, John, good to see you. Good to see you. There's something you may want to see.
Okay, what is it?
I was playing with the latest version of your algorithm on the system simulator this morning. Take a look at the screen. So the dot is the target plane, the X is our test platform, and the circle is the location your algorithm is reporting. Now, watch what happens when we maneuver the test platform. Now let's turn again. Look at that. Did you know turns would cause the algorithm to home in on the target like that?
Yeah, we've run our own simulations. We knew we would need a maneuver to get the right answer.
But this is independent confirmation that the algorithm works. A whole lot of really smart people are going to eat some words.
We still have to get our receiver working.
That's for the flight test. This proves that the algorithm works no matter what else happens.
We may avoid government penalties for this, but no one remembers home runs hit in practice.
As John expected, early Heather flight test results were compromised by receiver control and performance issues. However, the live tests eventually proved that passive air-to-air location can be performed. In 1989, John and 2 of his colleagues received the company's highest award for technical achievement. Their game-winning home run had been duly recognized as a milestone event in the EW community. Demolition of the Berlin Wall began in June 1990. In late 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved into its 15 original republics. The Cold War was over. Through 1990, many employees of Maryland's Litton and Westinghouse firms were supporting the Navy's effort to replace the A-6 Intruder with the A-12 Advanced Tactical Aircraft. On January the 7th, 1991, the A-12 contract was canceled by Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney. Westinghouse and Litton Amcom promptly announced significant layoff plans. These events set forces in motion that would play out over the next decade.
So Dennis, these guys, Ken, Steve, Glenn, well, they're EW guys. How are they going to help us on a telecom project?
Ken, Steve, and Glenn work well with everyone. They're top-notch problem solvers, and that's what counts. I mean, it's not like we're hiring a bunch of inexperienced hardware guys who are going to blow something up.
Blow something up? What are you talking about?
Sorry, it's just an expression. We don't have the staff to work on the FAA, FedEx, and aircraft carrier systems all at the same time. The EW guys, they can work on the new building blocks and the Navy's version of the carrier system, and then our current staff can handle the rest.
Okay, but all these deliverables have to be done on time, right?
Agreed. Everybody's going to have to work at least 60 hours a week to make this happen. Just hope nobody has a heart attack during the next couple of years.
An out-of-town businessman walked into the emergency room in a Chicago suburb this morning with severe chest pains. It took the ER staff 3 hours to identify the problem as a gangrenous gallbladder. The organ had to be removed immediately. The operation went smoothly, but the patient had a rare reaction to the anesthesia upon waking. The OR team is trying to stabilize him now.
So you're finally back from the Middle East. How the heck did you wind up there anyway?
After months of working absurd hours on that air traffic control system for the FAA, I ended up flying to Chicago for some on-site work. While there, I ended up having emergency surgery. Afterwards, I had a side effect that, quite frankly, for a moment there, I thought I was gone. So I decided to do some of the things I've been thinking about doing over the last few years. After I made all my deliveries, I started my own consulting company. The UAE had not been happy with the training they'd been getting on the telecom systems. Northrop contacted me, and I agreed to develop and teach some of the training courses in the UAE. So I was there for like 2 months.
How'd that work out?
We stayed in a great resort hotel near Abu Dhabi, and the customer was very happy with the job that we did. Some of us were even invited to an Arab wedding one weekend. So all in all, it ended up being a pretty fantastic experience. I also put away enough money so that I could stay home and write that novel that I've been wanting to write. I'll be fresh by next January to work on that project you were telling me about. So why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, Craig, he wants to revise the fault isolation system that you guys built for the A-12. He wants to use it on the EA-6B system. The good news is, and most important, we have our funding now. I was hoping you could start next week.
Oh, John, I was really hoping to write that novel.
Come on, you'd love working with your EW colleagues from the A-12 days. This is perfect for you, isn't it?
Sure, John. I may never forgive you for this.
Ever since Northrop Grumman purchased Litton, your contract is way too expensive.
What? How can that be?
Northrop's accounting structure is different. You're costing our programs almost triple what you did at Litton.
Okay then, I'll pack it in and go write that novel after all. It's been fun, and John, thanks for the opportunity.
Oh no, you don't want to go. This job's even more interesting. But you'd have to be an employee to take it. I figure you can switch next week.
But John, I don't want to work for anyone.
You have a 7-mile commute from here. And when was the last time you had a paid vacation?
That's right, John. That makes sense, I guess, but I can't promise you more than a year.
That's fine. Ready to start the paperwork?
Sure, John. But I may never forgive you for this. Hi, honey. I thought I'd let you know that we're done with our final day of class. Our foreign customers are now basic EW experts. Yes, the new manager started this week. Now might be a good time to talk to them about this class. Maybe they'll let me tailor the material to help get our new hires up to speed.
Wow, what a great turnout, you guys. Yeah, there are a lot of people. You ready?
Yeah, that movie was awesome.
I agree, that was an awesome idea.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first official EW 101 class. We've been developing this class for years for use in our EW department, so it is still evolving. Please feel free to offer additional information or ask questions over any of the topics we cover. Okay, now I'm going to introduce our instructors, and then we'll get started explaining how we can locate radars by simply, quote, listening to them.
The model you see here is a life-size model of the antennas used by EW systems we supply to several foreign countries. Now, this is a life-size model of an 18 gigahertz wave. And this is a life-size model of a 2 gigahertz wave. This is a model of a typical small baseline interferometer. Notice, our 2 gigahertz wave is reaching the antenna elements at a degree of -45. See how the waves are striking the antenna elements at different points in their cycle? The elements register these differences as phase measurements. We can use these phases to determine where the wave is coming from. I'll show you how this is done.
Earlier today, Kristen showed us how we can locate a radar by measuring phases, calculating the angle to the radar, and eventually locating it by triangulation. I'll show you a faster way of doing this by working backwards. We'll still use phase measurements, but we won't calculate an angle this time. We'll pose a set of hypotheses and eliminate the ones that don't make sense. This is how we'll do it. Our aircraft encounters a new radar and poses a set of hypotheses about where it's located. Each subsequent time the aircraft encounters the radar, it eliminates some of those hypotheses which no longer make sense based on the new measurements. This continues until almost all of the hypotheses are eliminated. Those that remain give us our answer. This method is faster and more accurate than the basic method Kristen described. I'll now show you 2 new methods we're testing because they're super awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. You've been a great class. Before you leave, please make sure that you sign in so that you get credit for taking the course. Have a great afternoon.
Excuse me, Dennis?
Yes.
Hey, my name's Ted. Did Rebecca say she's looking for more instructors?
Yes, she did. We'd love to have you join us if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. But I also had a question for you.
Go ahead.
So, I think you may have worked with my great-grandfather. His name's Russ. Do you happen to remember him?
Russ. I think I have a faint memory of him. Did you say he was your great-grandfather?
Good morning, Dennis. It's time for me to catch up on what you're doing. How are things?
Great. We're working on a demo of Dan's new algorithms through December.
Any mentoring?
4 jobs so far this year have let us use the young engineers. I've provided a little bit of the guidance, but they've done all the hard work. Whoever is hiring these newbies is doing a great job.
I agree. How's the training class?
It's an official course now, thanks to Rebecca. And it's a perfect example of what I was just describing. Kristen, Nate, and Ted are each teaching different sections, and they're doing great.
That's wonderful. Is there anything I can help with?
I need an interpreter.
An interpreter?
Yes. When I was a new hire, I was so out of place around all these, quote, old guys. And now I feel like I'm in a foreign country when I'm surrounded by all these 20-somethings. No offense intended.
None taken.
This is the catch that comes with staying in the workforce for 44 years. My vocabulary is just incomprehensible to most of my young colleagues, and vice versa. Sputnik and Yuri Gagarin means nothing to them. My head is filled with 40 years of expressions and ideas that they just simply don't know. And they find it incredulous that I still use a flip phone. Sometimes I think my head will explode the next time I hear the word awesome to describe just about anything. And no kidding, I actually worked with somebody's great-grandfather. But don't get me wrong, they're all wonderful and I enjoy them so much, but I think it's time for me to move on.
Are you thinking of retiring?
In the next year or so.
Do you plan to move anywhere else once you leave Northrop?
My wife and I have found some really great retirement places, but they all have the same problem.
What's that?
We're not ready to live around a bunch of old people. Yes, honey, we're about ready to start now. I'll call you back after we're done. Bye. We've come full circle now. I hope you picked up on the meaning of Catch 44 as I explained it to Danielle. I'll finish my thoughts in a moment. Hello. I have been incredibly fortunate to have been able to work for so long at Lytton and Northrop Grumman with so many brilliant people who helped create and sustain this environment we now work in. My good fortune has continued as I have come to know many of the younger generation who will further this work. This video was designed to show you some of the things that happened at Lytton, Northrop, and throughout the world in order to usher us to this place and time. If you now realize how much things have evolved over the last 46 years, I hope you're excited about the changes you will see before you stand in the position that I now occupy. My run at this career started as an experiment back in 1972. The result turned out to be fantastic, beyond anything I ever imagined. Much of this is due to the work that we do here that is so important to so many people. The secure future of this country is to a large degree in your hands now. So I want to leave you with this parting comment. I am confident that my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will be secure here in the U.S. because you're here. And because you're awesome.
You have an incoming quantum projection meeting request from Omega in Seattle.
Accept.
Great to greet you, Ted.
It's great to greet you too, Omega. Thanks for agreeing to this meeting time. I know it's 0600 out there.
Well, I'm happy you made time to meet with me for two reasons. This interview is primary, of course. But I also saw on the World Media site that you used to work for Entanglement Systems, when it used to be called Northrop Grumman. Is that correct?
That's right.
Well, in that case, I was wondering if you might have worked with my great-grandmother. Her name was Amy.